Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today I want to talk about the Halo Combat Evolved remake that is being revealed later this month, and specifically 7 things that I'm going to be on the lookout for during the reveal event. Now, if you're unaware, Halo Studios is going to be revealing their next couple projects later this month during the Halo World Championship on the 24th. And one of these projects is a full remake of Halo Combat Evolved. And while it hasn't been explicitly confirmed by Microsoft or Halo Studios, plenty of rumors and industry insiders, people like Mr. Rebs, have reported on this over the last few months. So it seems like it's definitely going to happen. Now, before I get into the list, I just want to level set. I'm a longtime Halo fan. I have been since 2001, and Combat Evolved is my favorite game in the series. And while I'm not opposed to a remake entirely, I do have a few concerns that I want to talk about, as I'm sure you do as well. Now, really, I'm of two minds about this project. On the one hand, I'm not opposed to playing through a reimagined version of Combat Evolved that has new graphics, fresh coat of paint, and all that. In fact, I think a lot of the stuff that they showed off last year is gorgeous. Like the Unreal Engine 5 renders. Mark 5 armor has never looked better, in my opinion. Though we'll say it is kind of missing that like iridescent candy apple finish that was in the first game. No, but on the other hand, we've been down this road before. They gave us this travesty back in 2011, and I still haven't recovered. Also, the development of this game has allegedly been outsourced to another studio, the same studio that worked on the Oblivion remaster. And while that game was very well received, it was mostly just a graphical enhancement to an old game. However, this new project is a little bit different. They're allegedly remaking the entire game in the Blam engine, which is the engine that the old games ran on, and then using Unreal Engine 5 on top to handle all of the graphics. I don't really know enough about this stuff to like get into the weeds and debate whether it's a good idea or not, but I will say it does concern me because a lot of Unreal Engine 5 games seem to have performance issues. I don't want to deal with low FPS, stuttering, or any of that kind of stuff. If the game doesn't run well, I'll just happily go back and play the old ones. Now, I preface with all of this because I just want to prove the point that like, I'm not trying to gas anybody up. I'm not huffing copium. There's going to be no glazing around here. I'm not doing tricks on it. I don't do that on this channel, guys. I am a skeptic. I'm just a normal gamer, and I'm not really optimistic about this project, if I'm honest. But I'm going to reserve judgment until we get to see it in action. And frankly, I want it to be good. I'm a longtime Halo fan. I want Halo to be good again. I want this to be a good game. I want to have fun reliving the experience that was Halo Combat Evolved. Anyway, let's get into the list. These are the 7 things that I'm going to be on the lookout for during the event. Let's start with a big one. That's tone. And when I say tone, I'm really referring to a couple different things. For one, the actual tone of the game itself, like Combat Evolved is kind of a dark game, right? It's isolating, it's lonely, bleak, dire. Everybody that you come across in the game dies by the end of it. It's a story about the struggle to survive against overwhelming odds. And if there's one thing I hope they really get right with this game, it is the tone. I do not want to see this game turned into like a lighthearted romp. I don't want Marvel humor. I don't want irreverent dialogue. Please no simplistic morality, forced humor, lack of consequences, lightheartedness, or excessive wish fulfillment where everything in the story exists just to serve as an opportunity to show that Master Chief is like cool or powerful. We need more than surface level presentation. These are all issues that plague the 343 games to varying degrees, and I really don't want to see them here. The story should take itself seriously, just like the original did, and tone extends not just to the story, but also to the art direction as well. The Anniversary Edition's upgraded graphics really did a lot of damage to Combat Evolved's tone, in my opinion. Certain levels evoked very specific emotions in the original game, and then when the visuals changed in the Anniversary Edition upgrade, it changed those emotions. For example, levels like 343 Guilty Spark went from being dark and mysterious, foreboding, to looking like a scene out of James Cameron's Avatar. And no offense to Avatar, but the bright, colorful, bioluminescent setting just does not match the tone of 343 Guilty Spark. I could go on about this for a very long time, but please, just like, for the love of God, give us a game that respects the original game's creative vision. The last point on tone is that I'm not actually interested in the event itself, not just the game, but how they announce it. I think 343 honestly owes the community some kind of explanation or perhaps even an apology for the way that they've handled this franchise for the last few years. Halo's at an all-time low. Halo Infinite's player numbers are rivaled by the MCC. It's not a powerhouse brand anymore. It's not selling Xboxes. It's not the killer app anymore. And I don't want to dogpile too much on 343 and Halo Studios in this video, but empty platitudes and toxic positivity are just not going to do it, right? I want them to be candid. I want them to be uncensored. If you remember the old days when Bungie would do their Vidocs, or the behind-the-scenes footage that they released along with their games, you would see conflict, right? They gave us a raw, uncensored look, a peek behind the curtain to see what the actual development of these games would like. I would love to see Halo Studios kind of match that energy and talk about the problems, talk about the challenges they faced on this project. If they come out and they say, Halo's never been stronger, we're so excited to show you the next chapter, this is the best Halo game we've ever made. If they start with that kind of tone, I think it's over. All right, let's move on to something simple, the Magnum. Halo CE's Magnum is legendary. It's probably safe to assume that this gun is going to be in the game, but I want to know if it's going to be as powerful as its predecessor was. I don't really think you can do Combat Evolved right without the overpowered Magnum. It's iconic, it's a weapon we all love. I want a true one-to-one recreation of Combat Evolved's Magnum. The look, the feel, the sound, the power, just everything. It's just, if they nerf this weapon, I think it's a big mistake. All right, next thing is the Flood. Now, we haven't seen the Flood in a Halo game since Halo 3. I am very much looking forward to their return and all of the chaos that they bring to the battlefield. But there are two things about the Flood specifically that I'm going to be on the lookout for. The first one is, are they scary? Halo CE, like I said, had a much darker tone. It really leaned into like the sci-fi body horror thing. I hope they keep that. And in keeping with that, the Flood should be gross. They should be scary. They should be unsettling. And I'm also curious to see if they will keep the dismemberment. Now, if you've played Halo 1, I'm sure you remember you can blow these guys to bits. The graphical fidelity was a little lower back then, so it wasn't like super realistic gore, but it was still gore. And I'm wondering if they're going to keep that in this game as well. I really think they need to nail down the presentation of the Flood specifically. If these guys come across as like cartoonish or just not very threatening, I don't think it's going to work very well. I think how they handle the Flood is going to tell us a lot about not just this game, but also the future of the franchise. And this brings me to my next point, the rating. Is this game going to be rated T or M? The last two Halo games are rated T, and I don't think that that's a trend that should continue. This series is supposed to be about kidnapped child soldiers, genocidal aliens, virulent parasitic organism. I mean, if the subject matter is like so dark and mature, but the action is subdued, it kind of feels fake. It feels cheap. Halo CE was mature and bloody. I think any honest remake should be as well. If this game is rated M, I think it signals to us that it's a return to form for the franchise and a strong respect for the source material, and that's a very good thing. But if the game is rated teen, I think it shows us that they're still more interested in appealing to the broader audience than they are appealing to Halo fans. Okay, you know this next one was coming. Sprint. I know this is like the talk of the town with Halo. It has been for the last 15 years. It seems like there's no shortage of like hour-long video essays on YouTube where people debate the merits of Sprint in Halo. Personally, I don't really have much to add to that conversation, but we know that this is going to be a huge, huge sticking point for a lot of people. I don't really have a problem with Sprint personally. Like, I play mostly single player, but I understand why the people who are into very competitive PvP feel the way that they do about Sprint. As a campaign enjoyer, it's just less of an issue. Now, if I had to guess, I would say Sprint is probably going to be in this game, and that's only because it's become a ubiquitous feature in first-person shooters generally. I know it's not a part of the classic Halo formula, but it is what it is. I think Sprint is here to stay. Okay, the next thing is scope. I am very curious to see what the full scope of changes are going to be. Word on the street is that this is not just like a simple remaster, but a full-on remake of the original game, meaning that the encounters and the layouts and of all the levels will be very different than the original. I know people criticize the back half of Combat Evolved as being a little bit repetitive, and I think that is a fair criticism. I imagine that levels like the library, two betrayals, or even segments of like Assault on the Control Room are going to be reworked to add a little more variety. Now, I don't think this is a bad idea in principle. If they're going through the trouble of remaking this whole game, I mean, why not give us something different? Give us some change. If you want to play the original version of Two Betrayals, it's readily available. You can go back and play the old game. Now, obviously, the caveat here is that new does not mean better. Yeah, this is more complicated than just like changing the scenery or changing the backdrop of a level. The combat arenas still need to be fun and challenging, and it remains to be seen whether or not these changes will be better than the original. Okay, this last category is really just a broad catch-all for anything new. All of the new stuff. I imagine we'll see like the flamethrower or the energy sword be usable in this game. Maybe we can drive a mongoose. Maybe we'll see phantoms. Maybe we'll get to fight brutes and drones on the surface of Installation 4. I think those are all very safe bets, but I'm wondering if they're going to surprise us with things that are actually like net new to the franchise. If you read The Flood, the novelization that goes along with Halo Combat Evolved, you might remember Alpha Base. Maybe that will be in this game. Maybe we get to go there. Maybe it's like a hub world that you return to between missions. You know, more sandbox items are great, and I'm all for that. But personally, I would actually like to see some of these like larger kind of mechanical changes to the gameplay formula itself. Anyway, guys, that's all I've got today. Like I said at the outset of this video, I'm honestly not super optimistic about this game, but I want it to be good. I'm eager to see more. I want Halo to make a return. I'm sure you do too. And for all of you out there who say that you don't want them to make drastic changes to this franchise, I mean, just keep one thing in mind. The old games are not going anywhere. You can still play them. You will always be able to play them. And consider the fact that Halo fans really are spoiled. There are not a whole lot of franchises out there that have been preserved to the extent that Halo has. I mean, you can play Halo on any Xbox right now, and we're very quickly approaching a future where you can play it not just on Xbox, not just on PC, but also on PlayStation and Nintendo. Halo is everywhere. You can play it wherever you want, and you will be able to do so in perpetuity. You just can't say the same thing about other franchises. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Leave a comment down below. Tell me what's your take. What are you excited about? What concerns do you have? And if you're looking for more Halo, please check out the video I did on why Halo needs a reboot. I think I make a pretty strong argument there, but come argue with me in the comments. Anyway, catch you next time. Thanks.